Week 18 of the fantasy baseball season, and here's a few prospects I would watch and possibly stash this week. The first prospect, Dylan Crews of the Washington Nationals. I mentioned Crews last week is a possible stash, and definitely a prospect that could be up sooner than later for this Washington National team. Obviously, they're out of the playoff hunt. They traded off Jesse Winker at the MLB trade deadline, Lane Thomas, their two outfielders, and obviously there was an opening in one of the spots, but so far they haven't called Crews up, and he's the number 4 prospect in all Major League Baseball. Now the number 1 prospect in the national system with James Wood, who's been up over the last couple months on the year. In AAA for Dylan Crews, 9 home runs, 55 RBIs, 21 stolen bases, a 267 average, and a 338 on-base percentage with a 783 OPS. So Dylan Crews, we know he's not going to show a lot of power, but he's a perfect catalyst for the top of the order. Good on-base percentage, which he could work on a little bit. Last season was a 377 during 3 teams in the minor leagues. This year down to a 338, but the OPS a pretty decent number as well. Stolen bases and runs scored is what he's going to bring. And this national team's still in the middle of their rebuild, but over the last few seasons, they've gotten some good pieces in trades. And I think Dylan Crews should be up. Like I said, with the last 45, 50 games of the year, Washington's out of it, and see what they have for the future. And Dylan Crews, he was expected to be up anyway coming into the year, around towards the end of the year this season or early next season. So it wouldn't be surprising to me if Crews comes up sooner than later for this national team, or even as a September call-up, and he's available in 90% of fantasy leagues. The next prospect is Division De Los Santos of the Miami Marlins. So the Miami Marlins got De Los Santos in the AJ Puk deal, and Santos, he's having a monster season in AAA, and we know this Marlins team needs some pop for now and for the future. So De Los Santos, the number 7 prospect in the Marlins system, only 21 years old, and like I said, he's tearing it up in the minor leagues right now, and they traded away pretty much all their good veteran players. Jazz Chisholm traded to the Yankees. Josh Bell, he got traded away. Tim Anderson, they cut him loose. Even surprisingly, they traded De La Cruz as well. So De Los Santos, you either could plug him in at first, third, or the DH position. And like I said, 31 home runs down there, 90 RBIs. A stolen base, 67 runs scored, a 323 average, and a 381 on base percentage with a 1,017 OPS. So he's tearing it up in AAA, where he was with Arizona early in the season, and now in Jacksonville for this Miami Marlin team. And this Marlin team, obviously the worst team in the National League, and they were in a total rebuild coming into the season. Everyone knew they weren't going to re-sign Skip Shoemaker, not expected to contend. And now after the deadline, trading, like I mentioned, some good pieces in Jazz Chisholm, De La Cruz, and also Josh Bell. So De Los Santos, like I said, it wouldn't be surprising if he's up sooner than later. And I like the trade they made, trading AJ Puk for a power hitter, which they need in this lineup for the future, and they could see what he has right now. So while De Los Santos, the number 7 prospect in this Marlins system, and available in 93% of fantasy leagues, he's definitely a prospect. It wouldn't be surprising if he's up in the next couple weeks as well. And someone to watch this week, the next prospect, AJ Smith Shawver of the Atlanta Braves. So Shawver injuries have been an issue for him this season, but the Braves now, the rotation's been banged up on and off over the last few weeks. Max Fried, he was on the IL for a little. He's returned. He didn't look good in his first outing back. Reynaldo Lopez got put on the injured list. Bryce Elder took his spot on the roster. He got lit up in the outing a couple nights ago versus the Milwaukee Brewers. And now AJ Smith-Shawver, he's available and he's ready to go, I believe, for this Brave team in the major league. So this season he only had 1 start in the majors, 4 1/3 with 4 strikeouts, and this season in AAA, not a great year. 1-5 record, 5.36 ERA, 13 games started, 48 2/3, 1.36 WHIP and 60 strikeouts. So like I said, the numbers aren't great, but this Brave team, they need some pitching in the major leagues. We saw with Spencer Schwellenbach, people didn't think he would come up, but he did sooner than expected. And now AJ Smith-Shawver, who's the number 1 prospect in this Atlanta Braves system. We saw him have a cup of coffee last season as well, 25 1/3, where he pitched better with a 1-0 record of 4.26 ERA, 1.11 WHIP. But this Atlanta Brave team, like I said, if Lopez is going to miss more time, even though they don't expect it, he should be in the major league sooner than later. So right now, number 1 prospect in the Brave system, number 65 prospect in all Major League Baseball, and he's available in 97% of fantasy leagues. The next prospect's Carson Williams of the Tampa Bay Rays. Tampa Bay, they had a fire sale at the Major League trade deadline, trading their best hitter, Randy Arozarena, trading arguably their second best hitter, Isaac Paredes, away, trading Zach Eflin, Jason Adams. So a lot of pieces traded away by Tampa Bay, even though they were right around the 500 mark. But they just wanted to shed some salary and build up the farm system even more, and they exactly did that. Carson Williams, he's been with this Tampa Bay organization since he got drafted, and this season having a solid year in the minor leagues. 14 home runs, 44 RBIs, 28 stolen bases, 255 average, a 346 on base percentage, and 64 runs scored for the shortstop for this Tampa Bay Ray team. I know he's in Double-A right now. There's a possibility he might not come up to the major leagues this season, but like I said, Tampa Bay most likely thought they were going to contend once again this season and not have a fire sale at the MLB trade deadline. So Junior Caminero, who I mentioned last week and many times on this list, I expect him up sooner than later in the next few weeks. And Carson Williams as well. You might as well see what these guys got with a couple months left of the season, where you're not contending and you don't really have young pieces up on the roster for the future to see what they can bring. So right now, Carson Williams available in tons of fantasy leagues in 98%. Like I said, number 9 prospect in Major League Baseball, number 2 in this Tampa Bay Rays system behind Junior Caminero. And he's going to bring stolen bases. He's going to bring some power. Is Carson Williams, run scored. And that's what he could be for this Tampa Bay Ray team. A top of the order catalyst and a guy can help fantasy owners in those categories, like I mentioned. So right now, Carson Williams, a name to look out for. But like I said, if he's not up this season, it wouldn't be that surprising as well. In the 5th and final prospect, Bubba Chandler of the Pittsburgh Pirates. I've mentioned Chandler a lot this season on the channel as a stash. Number 1 prospect in this Pirate system and the number 49 prospect in all Major League Baseball. And he's available in 99% of fantasy leagues this season in Double-A with the Pirates. 6-7 record, 3.70 ERA, 16 games started, 19 games he appeared in, 80 and a third, 94 strikeouts, and a 1.01 whip. So the numbers are pretty decent, I believe, down there for Bubba Chandler. And this Pittsburgh Pirate team, we know they're not scared calling up the kids. Paul Skenes, he got called up months ago. He's been pitching well. Jared Jones, he made the opening day rotation. He's been out for a little bit, but he should be up sooner than later. We saw they traded away at the deadline. It was Martin Perez, this Pittsburgh Pirate team, and Bailey Falter. If they want to put Chandler in the rotation and see what he has, I think it's a possibility for Pittsburgh. Right now, I know they're on the outside looking in of a wild card spot. 4.5 games out is this Pittsburgh Pirate team. But Bubba Chandler, I believe, is ready to come up to the major leagues. He's had a good track record in the minor leagues, moving up every year. I know he's in Double-A with this Pirate team, but his numbers are better this season than they were last season. And like I said, if this Pirate team wants to make one more push for that wild card spot, you call up a blue chipper like Bubba Chandler to go in a solid rotation with Mitch Keller, Paul Skenes, Luis Ortiz, Jared Jones, and F. Chandler. That could be a scary rotation for many years to come with young pitchers and veteran as well. And Mitch Keller, so Chandler, well, he's out there in 99% of fantasy leagues, and I think it's a 50-50 chance he gets called up this season. He's someone to keep on the radar. So that's a few prospects I'd look to watch and possibly stash for Week 18 of the fantasy baseball season.